Great. All right. So that concludes day 4, which is day before yesterday. Some more elements. Hare Krishna. 4 levels of bliss. Not day before, but we looked at it in day 1. Okay. What others? Yesterday we looked at the multiple manifestations, like you rightly mentioned. Very rightly mentioned of how Krishna expands self within the spiritual world and the material worlds. We also saw that there are multiple Vaikuntha planets and there are multiple material worlds. We saw the structure of the universe in brief and how the Lord is all pervading. And we saw the 4 S. Correct. First is Vishnu Tattva or Super Soul. Shakti Tattva, Shambhu Tattva, correct, Jiva Tattva or souls. And we also compared the difference between Krishna and perfect, the Devatas. Yes. After that, what did we conclude the session by saying? Okay, Supreme CEO, and we forgot our relationship with him. Okay, so yesterday what was the takeaway? Excellent. How did we start the session? 5 themes or 5 topics that are covered in Bhagavad Gita. What are those? Thank you. Okay. So, Ishvara we looked at in day 2 and 4. Jiva on day 3. Yesterday we looked at Prakriti, Kala, in that order. So, Prakriti, what did we look at?
Prabhuji, there are 14 planetary systems, and this material world is described as Prakriti in Bhagavad Gita 15.1 and 15.2.
Okay. We looked at the structure of the entire existence. We looked at the spiritual worlds and the material worlds. After that, we looked at how the living entities fall down from the spiritual world to the material world, fall down of Jiva. After that, we looked at the affairs in the material world, how Prakriti or how Durga Devi is governing the material world, right? And we looked at how this material world is compared to a prison, but this prison is without walls. So how are we bound to the material world? 3 gunas, correct? And Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, and excellent, very good.
Prabhuji, we concluded Prakriti by an acronym called PPCC, Punishment, Purification, Costume, Shades.
Very good. So, how is Durga Devi helping us? Okay, and what is her ultimate motive for us?
People love Krishna.
To go back home, back to God. Okay, go back to Vaikuntha. That is our objective in which Mother Durga is helping us. Excellent. After that, Kala. Kala. We looked at how Kala has a tripartite relationship. Correct. Spiritual and material time. We looked at what is spiritual time. We looked at what is material time. Within material time, there are 2 categories. One is universal time and the other one is individual time. All right.
Prabhuji, universal time, we looked at Mahayugas, that is Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. We also looked at in 1 minute.
Yes. 6 changes. The 6 changes. First there's birth, then there's growth, there's maintenance. After that there is progeny. After that deterioration, and then finally death. What is death? Death is change of costume. And we looked at the multiple costumes available. How many costumes are available within the material world? 84 lakhs. Correct. 84 lakhs. 84 lakh species. We all saw the various classifications.
Prabhuji, we also say in Kala, we also saw that the duration of Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yugas, and we also saw that in one lifetime of Brahma, there are 14 Manus.
Correct. And each Manu's lifespan is 71 Mahayugas. And after that, we looked at one day of Brahma, which is 12 hours, 311 trillion, 60 billion years or something like that. Okay. Next. We looked at laws of karma. Yes. What did we look at? Sakarma, or in general it's called karma. Karma or sakarma are the same thing. Sakarma, opposite is vikarma. And beyond karma and vikarma is, what is karma? Correct. Activities in accordance with the laws of God or laws of nature are called karma. Activities against is vikarma. Correct. Why is it bad? It's bad because it's against the laws of nature or laws of God. That is why it is bad. Great. After that, akarma. What is akarma? Neutral means. So is the activity spiritual, and what about the result? No, you will get spiritual result. Activity is 0% material, 100% spiritual.
Another important thing that we saw in karma is the common misconception is people think that God is partial, but the proof is there in Bhagavad Gita 9.29, and you gave an example of the government. The very same judge records death sentence as well as.
We looked at how God is a judge within this universe. We looked at an example of the restaurant example. Right? Thank you. What else? No, we'll get to that today. But that is a new word which you are telling all of us. We didn't hear about it before. Sorry, out of syllabus. No, just kidding. We'll look at that today. Yes. What else? Yes. Judgment. One is instantaneous, and the other one is delayed karma. Perfect. Yes. ATM check. The other one is court statement and tight slap. So instant reaction versus delayed reaction. Okay, and we also looked at how karma. We looked at one more example of Dhritarashtra. Great. And next, yes, next, on whom we looked at some FAQs, frequently asked questions. Correct. Yes. So we addressed that karma, ignorance is not a reason to avoid karma. Correct. After that,
ignorance is not a reason to avoid karma. Here you gave an example. A person who does not know the train, which train section is he supposed to get in section 2, but he went in section A.
Perfect. Perfect. Finally, we concluded by saying that we are responsible for our own happiness. And why are we entangled in this material world?
Because we bound to our economic bonds.
Perfect.
We wanted to.
Very good. Sorry?
We wanted to come here to enjoy.
Why did the Jiva fall down to the material world?
Because they wanted to have a flesh material.
No. No.
We became rebellious.
Exactly. We rebelled against the Lord and we wanted to enjoy separate from Him. In other words, we wanted to be God. That's the reason for. Sorry? Correct. Correct. That's the reason for fall down of Jiva. Great.
Human life is like in junction.
Correct. Correct. So we looked at the solutions. Now that we understood how the transmigration of the living entity happens within the material world. Transmigration entity is traveling around the material world, up and down, according to his karma phala. How to get out of this entanglement of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Correct. So we saw that life is a correct. And what is the exam? Correct. Correct. That is the syllabus. And life is the preparation. Fantastic.
Prabhuji, for this life is preparation, death is examination, you gave an example of Bhagavad Gita 8.5 and 6.
Yes, correct. Antakale Chamameva.
And Yam Yam
Correct. Great. And we finally concluded by saying that remembering the names of Lord Krishna. We saw how the Hare Krishna Mahamantra originated from the spiritual world, is a transcendental vibration, and chanting the holy names is the only remedial measure for spiritual awakening, which we also saw on day 3. Who am I? All right. So that brings us to the finale for today, titled The Yoga of Love. Great.
It's like bringing the image for what Prabhuji remembering again.
Good question. Remembrance means everything. For example, మీ నాన్నగారు అనగానే మీకు ఏమేమి గుర్తొస్తాయి? మీ నాన్నగారి పేరు గుర్తొస్తుంది, మీ నాన్నగారి రూపం గుర్తొస్తుంది, మీ నాన్నగారి యాక్టివిటీస్, everything, naam, roop, guna, leela, and associates, everything. So as soon as you say apple, note lo appudu, for example, if you like apple, even you start salivating as soon as you think apple. So that's the kind of connection that we have with the Lord also. As soon as you think about Krishna, love should reciprocate within your heart.
So Hare Krishna mantra is the most powerful mantra amongst all other mantras.
You will see that today. Answer is yes. Okay. Shall we start? So day 6.
Want to ask something?
Sorry.
Want to ask something?
Or ask something? So we did the summary, but I want to quiz you once again on some questions which are important. Who am I? I am not the material body. I am spirit soul. Great. Where did I come from? I originally from the spiritual world to the excellent. Where am I now? Great. What is the material world? Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. Day 1, you all remember? Granthalayam, Bhojanalayam, Madhiralayam. And then we looked at Dukkalayam. Fantastic. Why am I here now? We all rebelled against God, like you rightly mentioned. So we chose to be independent of God. Material world is compared to prison house. PPCC. Purification from what? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. Why do I get different bodies? Because of karma, absolutely. Or we saw the example of the carnivores. If somebody is very addicted to eating meat, then you will get a body which is conducive for that kind of activity. If say somebody wants to create universes, then Brahma's body is more conducive for that because he has 4 or 5 heads. He can think more. His lifetime is more. So you get multiple bodies based on your karma. Great. For how long will this go on? This means getting bodies.
Until we end.
And when will that end? Forever, it's keep on going on, right?
Is there no way to end this?
We'll look at that. Right? Till we get out of the cycle of birth and death. Why? Because we have millions of lives. We have already lived here from Anadikal. And millions of good and bad things also we've been doing. So which means we've accumulated some karmic accounts. So millions of reactions are also in store for us. Nobody has any idea except Lord Shri Krishna how much karmic account we have. How much is balance and how much we are supposed to enjoy. Correct? So for that, still we have to be entangled in this birth and death. So we looked at this question. What do I do now? What's the solution for that? We looked at human life as like a train junction for transmigration into the universes. So we can choose our future course of journey. So if you want to be a demigod, you can be a demigod. You can come back as a human. You can degrade to an animal, or you can choose to go back to Godhead within this human form of life, because it's like a junction. Depends on how you use your ABCD abilities. Based on that, you can transmigrate within these options. Excellent. How can I go back home, back to Godhead? What is the process? Which is basically the process of spiritual awakening by akarma. We looked at how akarma also nullifies, or it has the option to remediate entire karmic account balance. It's like swimming without getting wet. You are existing in the material world, but you are no longer subjugated to material outcomes because you are completely situated on the spiritual platform. So today we are going to do a deep dive on what is this akarma, or what is this yoga of love. Before that, we have to understand what is yoga. So the word yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yujya. Yujyate iti yogaha. Yujya means connect. Connect with what? Connect with the Supreme Lord. So a yogi is trying to connect with the Supreme Lord. He's a yogi. Any yogi.
Can you repeat the
Yujyate iti yoga.
Yujya. So the word comes from
Correct. Yujya means to connect. But to connect to what? To connect to the Supreme Lord. For example, here the yogi is meditating. Meditating on who? On Kshiradakshai Vishnu or Paramatma. When we do, or when we think of yoga in the common parlance, ఇవాళ రోజున మనం యోగా అనుకుంటే మీకు ఏం గుర్తొస్తుంది మైండ్ లో? మైండ్ రిలాక్సేషన్ వస్తుంది. యోగా చేయాలి అంటే ఏం చేయాలనుకుంటారు? బ్రీదింగ్ ఎక్సర్సైజ్ చేయాలి, ఆసనాలు చేయాలి, ఇంకేం చేయాలి? మెడిటేషన్ అన్నారు కొంతమంది. దట్ ఈస్ ఆసనాస్ అగైన్. సో ఇలాంటివన్నీ గుర్తొస్తున్నాయి కదా మనకి. వి రిమెంబర్ స్పెషల్లీ asanas and meditation, right? But yoga is not meant for exercise for body or increasing our lifespan by doing pranayama or breathing exercises. Neither is it for mystic powers. The ultimate benefit of something called hatha yoga or ashtanga yoga, which we all are talking about. Breathing exercises, pranayama, asanas, ivanni unnai chusara. All this comes under the envelope of Ashtanga Yoga, which is propounded by Patanjali, under whom that brand Patanjali also came. Anyway, So this also is meant for a specific purpose. So Ashtanga Yoga has 8 limbs. What are those 8 limbs? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. These are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Yama ante enti? Don'ts. Niyama ante do's. Do's and don'ts. Andarki rules and regulations untayi kada. Do's and don'ts. Ila cheyali, ila cheyadu. That is Yama Niyama. Asana is physical postures to purify the body. There are so many postures. Ee asana chesti ee stomach issue potundi. So to purify the body, there are many asanas that are recommended. If you have kidney issues, you do this kind of asana. To burn fat, you do this kind of asana. So for purification of the body itself. Body means gross body. Because we have 3 bodies. I have to clarify that. Pranayama is breathing exercises to purify the mind. Pratyahara is shutting down the senses so that you can solely focus on something that is beyond the senses. So which means they are trying to, by the means of pranayama and pratyahara, they are trying to control the 10 life airs within the body. Not only they control the life airs, they control the movements, and some yogis even go beyond reversing the movements of airs. Some airs are passing clockwise, some are able to make it anti-clockwise and live longer. So some yogis are living for 400 years, 800 years, 1000 years. You can meet all these yogis in this Mahakumbha Mela, which occurs once every 12 years or something like that, right? You can see all those yogis. They take a dip in the Himalayas and they come out in the Kumbh Mela. So thousands of kilometers they are traveling with mystic powers. Pratyahara, Dharana, holding the Lord's form in the mind. Dharana means holding. Dharana, what are you holding? You're meditating on the Supreme Lord. Like the photo that we saw recently, right? About yoga. What is the yogi holding in his mind? He is holding the form of the Lord. Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Dhyana means intense focus and meditation on the Lord's form. So here you are practicing to remember the Lord, and here you are actually focusing. And then finally Samadhi. So from here, do's and don'ts, rules and regulations nunchi, gradually we transgressed all the gross and subtle bodies, came to spiritual level, and then finally we are coming to Samadhi. Samadhi means finally establishing yourselves on that spiritual platform and performing yoga of love, which means akarma. So here you are completely absorbed in the Lord and you are devoted to his service. That is Samadhi. So these are the Yoga Sutras that are given by Patanjali, and this is called Ashtanga Yoga. But out of these, we rejected all of this and we are catching these two. That too not really for its purpose. So now we understand the previous slide that it's not meant for all this. So when one actually conquers this gross and subtle bodies, he gets many mystic powers. The Anima, Laghima, there are 8 kinds of mystic powers, which means they can be lighter than the air, they can be heavier than anything else, they can manifest materials from their thin air. Hanuman, how did he become light and heavy? How did he gain all these bodies? That is basically Anima Laghima. There are so many yogis even in today's date who can do all these things. But that is also not a very great thing because there are so many yogis who can do it. That doesn't mean you are God. It's just that you are getting one benefit out of yoga. Some people are getting health benefits. Some people are getting mystic powers. That's all. It basically means manipulation of matter. So, like we mentioned, what is the ultimate stage of Ashtanga Yoga? Samadhi. What is Samadhi? Loving devotional service with the Lord. So finally, ultimately, yoga is meant to reconnect, like we mentioned in the definition. Yujyate iti yoga. Connect with the Supreme Lord. So connect what? Connect the soul with Krishna. That is the purpose of yoga. Connect the soul with Krishna. Because we all rebelled against him, right? So through the process of yoga, we are connecting once again. I must say reconnect. That is the right word. Reconnect. There are 4 kinds of yoga. This is from Bhagavad Gita. Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Dhyana yoga. Dhyana yoga is also called Buddhi yoga and Bhakti yoga. So 4 kinds of yoga. What is Karma yoga? Karma yoga is when you use the senses which are connected to the Lord. So we all saw how many bodies we have? 3, right? So when you're trying to connect the senses, into gross body with the Lord, connect means engage in His service. That is called Karma yoga. What is Jnana yoga? When you want to engage the mind in the service of the Lord, that is called Jnana yoga. In other words, when you want to satisfy the desires of the mind through connection with the Lord, that is called Jnana yoga. So Dhyana yoga is for intelligence and Bhakti yoga is for the soul. So this is how on various levels of bliss are experienced by the transcendentalists. We saw the 4 levels of bliss, right? What are the 4 levels of bliss? First is material bliss. Next is emotional bliss. Next is intellectual bliss and pleasures. Material pleasure, emotional pleasure, intellectual pleasure, and spiritual pleasure. So the pleasure experienced by the various yogis are in this levels. So karma yogis are experiencing material pleasure. Jnana yogis are experiencing emotional pleasure. Dhyana yogis are pursuing and experiencing intellectual pleasure. And bhakti yogis are pursuing spiritual pleasure. I don't know if they're experiencing or not because they have to finally connect with the Lord. But they're pursuing that much is there. Right? Does that make sense? Proceed. Bhakti yoga is the top of yoga. Why? Because it is on the spiritual platform. Exactly. But why? We look at this on a much more detailed manner. So Bhagavad Gita says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Somebody please read translation.
And all of the yogis, the one with the great
And
faith,
of all yogis,
the one with the great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders
transcendental,
loving service to me. He is the most
intimately
united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Very good. Big round of applause. There are big words in this. So what is Krishna saying? Out of all the yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, there are some characteristics. Madgater antaratmanaha, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, right? Shraddhavan bhajate yomam, thinks of me within himself, gater antaratmana, and renders transcendental devotional service, which is Shraddhavan and bhajate yomam. He is worshipping me. Bhajata means that is coming from bhakti. Same yukta tamo mataha. he is the most intimately related with me in yoga, which means what? He is the greatest yogi and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. My opinion means Krishna's opinion. That means what? This is the absolute truth. ఇది నిజం. భగవంతుడు ఒకటి నా ఒపీనియన్ అంటే అది నమ్మాల్సిందే కదా. That's why Krishna is saying this is my opinion. వినండి. So we saw many yoga paths of yoga, right? What are the 4 different paths? Karma, jnana, and bhakti. So are all of these 4 paths leading to the same goal, same objective? What is our objective? To go back home, back to Godhead. So are all these 4 yogic processes or paths leading to the same objective? Let's look at it. Once again, taking references to Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 3, text 42 is saying, Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. Somebody read the translation, please.
The working senses are superior to other matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence.
So this is explaining the different levels. Basically, man already chariot example lo chusam. The soul is the enjoyer. So the soul is at the highest platform. The soul is controlling the intelligence. Beyond this, lowest level lo senses unnadi. Okay, na senses are superior to dull matter. Dull matter is inanimate. So beyond the senses, dull matter, senses, mind. See, mind is higher than senses, intelligence, and the soul. So dull matter, senses, mind, intelligence, ego. Sorry, not ego. Soul. I'm remembering the dull matter is material energy. Yes, you can say body also. But usually it refers to the objects of senses. Whatever you are interacting with. Correct. Material energy. All right. So the yoga means there are 2 purification approaches. One is outside in and the other one is inside out. So the outermost covering, manam 3-piece suit example lo chusam. What is the outermost covering of out of the 3 bodies? The gross body, and then the internal one is subtle body, and actually the soul is within the subtle body, right? Gross, subtle, and then the soul. Similarly, inside out ante you are having spiritual realization, and because the soul is superior to the intelligence, mind, and senses, spiritual realization leads automatically to the control of the intelligence, mind, and senses. So that is the inside out approach, which is bhakti yoga. And outside in approach is basically like Ashtanga yoga and other processes, where they first purify the gross body, and then they enter into the subtle, and then they enter into the spirit level. So there are 2 approaches, outside in, inside out. Why is bhakti yoga superior? Bhakti yoga is like an elevator. Elevator is easy and building ekkalante వెళ్తాము నొక్కుతాము జైన్ పైకి వెళ్ళిపోతాం, మన ఫ్లోర్ రాగానే దిగిపోతాం. అదర్ యోగిక్ ప్రాసెస్ ఆర్ లైక్ స్టేర్ కేస్. గ్రాడ్యువల్ గా ఫస్ట్ ఫ్లోర్ ఎక్కాలి, సెకండ్ ఫ్లోర్ ఎక్కాలి, థర్డ్ ఫ్లోర్ ఎక్కాలి, ఫోర్త్ ఫ్లోర్ ఎక్కాలి, టు మేక్ గ్రాడ్యువల్ ప్రోగ్రెస్. వై? Because the multiple layers that we have. Like in the Ashtanga yoga example we saw, first you have to follow do's and don'ts, then you have to control your senses, control your mind, control your intelligence, purify intelligence, then go to spiritual platform. In that there is spiritual purification, then finally there is samadhi. So this is yoga ladder, just a model to understand the entire Bhagavad Gita. Mottam Bhagavad Gita is slide lo undi, everything, all 700 verses. So we'll discuss this a little carefully now. Like we saw, pious materials ante it's called karma kanda. Karma kanda ante it's a section amongst the Vedas which recommend, we already saw that ఈ యజ్ఞం చేస్తే వర్షం వస్తుంది, ఈ నోము చేస్తే ఈ బెనిఫిట్ వస్తుంది. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చూసాం కదా, గుర్తుందా మీకు? దోశలు నోము గుర్తుందా ఇంకా? ఓ వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్. So that is pious materialist. 100% pure material benefits he is pursuing. That is little better than animalistic life. Why? Animalistic life is in the lowest rung. దానికంటే పైన పయస్ మెటీరియలిస్ట్ అంట. అంటే దేవుడితో డీలింగ్స్ పెట్టుకుంటున్నాడు. దేవుడితో కాదు, ఓన్లీ విత్ ద వేదిక్ స్క్రిప్చర్స్. డజంట్ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ ఫెయిత్ ఇన్ ద లార్డ్, బట్ ఈస్ జస్ట్ లైక్, ఓకే, ఐ విల్ ఫాలో రిచువల్స్ అండ్ ఐ విల్ గెట్ బెనిఫిట్స్. వెళ్ళామా, ఆర్చన్ టికెట్ కొన్నామా, ఎల్లో వచ్చేసామా, అంతే, అయిపోయి ఫినిష్, చాప్టర్ క్లోజ్. Why is he better than animalistic life? Okay, that's a very good point.
You don't need that let life going like that.
Okay, very good. Why is a pious materialist better than animals? Especially a karma kandi. Okay, but that's the difference between animals and human beings in general. Why specifically a pious materialist is better than animal life? ఇది మనం చూసాం. A1. Because of ABCD, that is the difference between animals and humans. Why is a pious materialist better than animal life? Simple. He has some faith in Shastras. కొంచెం నమ్మకం ఉంది, ఎవరో ఒకళ్ళు పైన ఉన్నారు. ఆ డస్ట్ ఫిలాసఫీ, some power is there, higher power. I don't know who is, I don't care who is. My business is going on now, so let me worship him and I will do my things. ఆ మాత్రం కొంచెం నాకు కించిత్ నమ్మకం ఉందా? So he is little better than animalistic life, who don't have any faith in the Lord.
The animal is not the animals you want to mention. People who live without any faith is called animals. That's what you mentioned.
ఆ కేటగిరీ కింద ఉంది. They are worse than animals. ఏబిసిడిని ఎవరైతే వాడట్లేదో వాళ్ళు యానిమల్స్ కంటే కింద ఉన్నారు. ABCD, what is ABCD? Okay, you can explain to us what is ABCD. You ante not only you, please help her. Pavum. Ability for higher inquiry. Animals cannot inquire about God, who am I? So they don't have this ability, right? They are simply going on what is ఆకలేస్తుందా, వెళ్ళామా, గడ్డి తిన్నామా, అయిపోయింది. నిద్ర వచ్చిందా, వెళ్ళి పడుకున్నామా, అంతే. సో ప్లీజ్, నేను ఏం చేస్తే నాకు ఎక్కువ ఆనందం వస్తుంది, ఆప్షన్స్. ఇవాళ బిర్యానీ తింటే మస్తు ఉంటుంది, లీవ్ కదా, అలా ఆలోచించే ఆప్షన్స్ వాళ్ళకు ఉండవు, మనకు ఉంది. Yes, bliss. And then C is choice. Animals don't have a choice to react to situations. Atmosphere, ఇప్పుడు మనం ఏంటంటే బెదిరించామా పారిపోతే, మనం సపోజ్ నేను వెళ్ళి హే అన్నా అనుకో, ఎందుకురా నన్ను అంటున్నావు అనే ఒక ఆప్షన్ ఉంది. మీకు నాకు పరిచయం ఉంది అనుకోండి, సపోజ్ ఐఎమ్ హిటింగ్ క్షితేజ్, సేమ్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అయ్యేది కాదండి, క్షితేజ్ మీద వీక్ మీద ఒకటేసాను. నేను ఈజ్ లైక్ ఫ్రెండ్లీగా కొట్టానా లేకపోతే నిజంగానే కొట్టానా అని ఒకసారి ఆలోచిస్తాడు, ఎందుకు కొట్టారు ప్రభు అని. నేను లైక్ ఫ్రెండ్లీగా కొడితే హాహా నవ్వుతాడు. లేదు, ఇఫ్ ఐ యాక్చువల్లీ chastised him, then he'll feel bad. Why did he be very upset about it? So it's a choice to react to circumstances. And then D is determination. Determination to do ABC. I have that determination. I have that determination whether I have to pursue or not. Great. So that's why if I don't use ABCD, I am below animalistic life. Pious materialist. Karma yoga is basically the materialist is starting to understand that, oh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists. Let me reciprocate with her. Maybe my business will become quicker. గవర్నమెంట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చూసాం మనం. పిఎం మోడీ వాస్తా దొరికింది అనుకోండి, అన్ని పనులు ఈజీగా అయిపోతాయి. అంత పెద్ద దాన్ని నల్ల అయిపించలేరా? సో దే ఆర్ ట్రైంగ్ టు కనెక్ట్ విత్ ద లార్డ్ డైరెక్ట్లీ. దట్ ఈస్ కర్మ యోగా త్రూ దేర్ activity. For what? For material gain, as simple as that. But they also want to purify the material body. They feel that because I have materialistic pursuits, let me pursue it in the righteous manner. That is the karma yoga pursuit. Adi first 25 floors laga. Floors ante in the journey of self discovery, of building anukondi 100 floors building. Karma yoga is like 25th floor. Jnana yogas are pursuing not jnana, they are pursuing mental purification. So on the mental level, they are pursuing connection with the Lord. Example ivalante, karma yogis are fed up. Karma yoga chase, they get fed up. Are in material enjoyment lo asal maza nahi le. It's so limited. Maybe if I pursue something on the mental platform, I can enjoy something. So they are pursuing mental, or I would say mental pleasure. For that, they are pursuing mental purification also. That is called Jnana Yoga. Beyond that, you have Dhyana Yoga, which is also called Buddhi Yoga, which is on the intellectual platform. So once they understand that I am not satisfied with this bodily connection, I am not satisfied with this mental also, then they start to inquire about the real pursuit or real purpose of life. Then they start to inquire what is beyond me, what is beyond this universe. Is there some permanent solution to this repeated problem of birth and death? How do I enjoy permanent happiness? Who is God? Can I have an eternal relationship with Him? They start to pursue higher platforms of pleasure. Similarly, higher platforms of purification also. That is Dhyana Yoga. And beyond that is, they understand that I am not this gross body, I am not the subtle body, I am pure spirit soul. And I am an eternal fragmental part of the Supreme Lord. And they are trying to purely connect with the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. That is called Bhakti Yoga, which is on the highest rung of the ladder. Idoka nichar anukondi, that's why it's called Yoga ladder. If this is a ladder, this is the highest rung. Ante అన్నిటిక రంగ్ అంటే మెట్టు. లాడర్ లో మీకు హారిజాంటల్ బార్స్ ఉంటాయి చూసారా, దాన్ని రంగ్స్ అంటారు ఇంగ్లీష్. దిస్ ఇస్ ద హైయెస్ట్ రంగ్ విచ్ ఇస్ భక్తి యోగా. సో గ్రాడ్యువల్లీ యానిమలిస్టిక్ లైఫ్ నుంచి మనం అప్గ్రేడ్ అవ్వాలంటే యూ హావ్ టు పర్స్యూ కర్మయోగా ఫస్ట్, దెన్ జ్ఞానయోగా ఫస్ట్. దీస్ ఆర్ స్టెప్స్. జ్ఞానయోగా అయిన తర్వాత ధ్యాన యోగాకి వెళ్ళాలి, ఆ తర్వాత స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్ యూ రీచ్ భక్తి యోగా. రిమెంబర్ దిస్ ఇస్ గోయింగ్ ఆన్ త్రూ పర్సనల్ ఎండెవర్. స్టెప్స్ ఎక్కుతుంటే మనం కష్టపడతాం కదా, అందుకే చాలా ఇబ్బందిగా ఉంటుంది మెట్లు ఎక్కాలంటే. సో ఇట్స్ స్లో ఆల్సో. లిఫ్ట్ లో మనం కష్టపడతాం, బటన్ నొక్కితే అది వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. సిమిలర్లీ భక్తి యోగా is of two categories. One is pure bhakti yoga and the other one is mixed bhakti yoga. Shuddha bhakti and mishra bhakti. Mixed. So this mixed bhakti yoga is like elevator. And that is working on the basis of the Lord's grace. So it is much more faster. So spiritualists or transcendentalists, when they understand that I am not the body, I am the spirit soul, and they say that, my Lord, I still have materialistic demands. I will do devotional service for you. But because I am not purified on the bodily level, I might have some bodily demands from you. But I will still do bhakti. It's not pure, it's not unmotivated, uninterrupted. I might have some demands like, give me this, give me that. But I will do devotional service. That is Karma Mishra Bhakti. Jnana Mishra Bhakti is again on the subtle level, on the mental platform. Then please give me mental peace, relieve me from this anxiety, this, that, whatever it is. On the mental platform, you're having desires. That, okay, I no longer have material desires, I'm okay with that. Whatever, or okay, and I'm not like completely satisfied, but I'm not pursuing it also. I understand that there's nothing in this, but I want mental peace, mental satisfaction, and all those things on the emotional platform. That is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Yoga Mishra Bhakti is intelligence. They want to get knowledge about the universe. They want to get intelligence about the Supreme Lord. They want to get intelligence about themselves. Intellectual pursuits. జ్ఞానాన్ని వాళ్ళు పర్సూ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. జ్ఞానం అంటే ఇక్కడ ఆధ్యాత్మిక స్థాయిలో స్పిరిచువల్ నాలెడ్జ్, నాట్ మండేన్ మటీరియల్ నాలెడ్జ్, హౌ టు మేక్ ఏరోప్లేన్స్, సివిల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్, ఎంటెక్ అలాంటి జ్ఞానం కాదు. This is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. And then finally, when their desires are purified through the process of devotional service, automatically they attain Shuddha Bhakti. So that Mishra Bhakti is automatically purified to Shuddha Bhakti by pursuing Bhakti with mixture. ఎలా అంటే ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ ఒక వ్యక్తికి సరిగా కనిపించట్లేదు, కరెక్టివ్ లెన్స్ వేసుకున్నాడు, ఆటోమేటిక్ గా కనిపిస్తుంది. కరెక్ట్? It's the same way that he is having the right perspective, not the right vision. The vision is blurred with desires of karma, jnana, and buddhi. Bhakti is pure devotional service. Reciprocation with the Lord on the spiritual platform is called bhakti. There are 9 processes of devotional service on the pure spiritual platform. 9 processes of devotional service.
Shravanam.
Slowly.
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam.
Slowly. First,
Shravanam,
second,
Kirtanam,
third,
Vishnu Smaranam,
Vishnu Smaranam,
Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam,
Atmanivedanam. So there are 9 processes in which you can pursue devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. This is from 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj is giving the definition of the 9 processes of devotional service. And there are 12 authorities of these 9 processes of devotional service. They are called Mahajanas. Do you know the 12 Mahajanas? Not little, the full thing. You know, Prabhu? Swayambhu, Narada Shambhu, Kumaro Kapilo Manu, Prahlado Janako Bhishmo, Balir Vayasakir Vayam. Swayambhu means Brahma, Narada, Shambhu means Lord Shiva, Kumara means 4 Kumaras, Kapila means Kapila Muni, who is the plenary incarnation of the Supreme Personality. Kumaro Kapilo Manu, Manu means Swayambhuva Manu. Janaka, Janaka Maharaj, the father of Sita. Janaka, Prahlada, Prahlad Maharaj. Bhishma, Bhishma Dev. Bali, who is Balir Maharaj. Vayasaki, who is Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadev, who gave Bhagavatam. And Vayam, Vayam means Yamaraj. Even Yamaraj is the Mahajana. He is an authority on bhakti.
Prabhuji, is this mentioned in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam where the Yamadutas ask questions to Yamaraja, like whom should we bring after Adam?
That's where Yamaraj is saying that we are all 12 authorities of bhakti. Okay, so that answers your question on what is bhakti. I'm sorry, I should have told that, but I think I missed it due to time constraint or I forgot something. Good. Thank you for reminding me that. That is one form of devotional service. Shravanam is listening to the glories of the Lord. Kirtanam is actually singing the glories of the Lord. Vishnu Smaranam is meditating on the Lord. Archanam is actually what you're saying about puja, worshipping the Lord and his forms directly. Archanam, Vandanam means offering your obeisances, which means Dasyam, directly serving the Lord. Yes. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam. Sakyam means having friendly relations with the Lord. Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Atmanivedanam means complete surrender. These are 9 processes of devotional service. Great. Mishra Bhakti ante you are doing one or many of those, but you are not doing it in a pure, unmotivated, uninterrupted state of consciousness. You are having some tinge of ante mana drishti anedi దూషితమై ఉంది. We'll see an example for that. Bhakti is all encompassing. So when you perform bhakti, you're automatically doing all the other processes. If you are, example chusam manam, the soul is superior to the intelligence, mind and senses, right? So if the soul is purified, that means automatically the senses, mind and intelligence are also purified. Automatically. But if the senses are purified, that doesn't mean your mind is purified because it's on the lowest platform. So performance of bhakti, because it's on the spiritual platform, automatically takes care of intelligence, mind and senses. So which means pursuing bhakti automatically takes care of intellectual requirements, mental requirements and physical requirements also. But if you want to cater to your physical needs, intellectual needs and emotional needs separately, then you have to have 4 pursuits, one specific for spiritual, one specific for intellectual. You get my point, right? You have to have 4 different endeavors. 4 విధంగా కష్టపడాలి, 4 విధమైన benefits రావాలి. But bhakti takes care of everything automatically, all encompassing. What is the proof for that? Bhagavad Gita is saying, translation, somebody read the translation. Yes.
The person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all these and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode.
Correct. So which means by performing bhakti, you don't have to worry that I'm missing out on something. Usually people have a fear that if I am pursuing spiritual life, that I might miss out on something. Are chala kashtam untadi, strict undali, of course undali, but you don't miss out on the opportunities that you have in the world. Bhakti takes care of all of your requirements. And the benefit of bhakti is, at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So bhakti is taking care of your existence in the material world, and it is also helping you to deliver from this world, go back home, back to God. That is the benefit of pursuing bhakti. Absolutely. I mean, bhakti is independent of conditions because it is spiritual. So it is not dependent on material circumstances, but material circumstances can certainly be used for pursuing bhakti. It is like using best use of bad bargain. You can dovetail everything in the service of Lord Shri Krishna.
So what I mean to say that if you want to do bhakti, first you have to live, you have to eat something. So eating is again material.
So this activity is being done both in the spiritual world and in the material world. So these 9 processes of devotional service exist both in the spiritual world and in the material world. Other than the fact that in the material world, because our consciousness is not pure, therefore you have this Mishra categories. So the activities are similar, like you rightly mentioned, but you don't have to have a physical body to serve the Lord because you are spirit soul. It's just like a garment. I can exist without a garment also, but I usually use it to protect myself. So within the material world, certainly yes. I would say yes. But within the material world, bhakti is not dependent, that's what I'm saying, on material circumstances, but you can utilize material circumstances for performing bhakti. There's a difference in that, right? Bhakti is independent of everything.
But the body without the soul doesn't have
A body without the soul. Okay, that's just gross matter.
yes, it doesn't exist, right?
That's what we saw yesterday. If there is no physical body, there is subtle body and spiritual body. What are they called? So they do exist. Your point is, can they do devotional service?
Like me, like if I want to do bhakti, I just cannot sit down and do bhakti. I need some energy. It means I need to eat something.
Absolutely.
I have some requirements of the body which I have to drink, eat, blah, blah, blah. After finishing only that, I can come here.
Correct.
To this point, at least to come to the class, I have to get up in the morning. I have to do all my things.
Yes.
Clean myself.
There is
And then only come
there is a
here.
twist in the story. If you do all those activities, are those activities called karma, vikarma, or akarma?
At least to do bhakti, now those have to be complete.
Because they are on the material platform, they are still karma, right? I'll just complete that. So we will look at some techniques. We'll look at some techniques towards the end of this discussion. How to convert those activities also into spiritual platform. Is that interesting? Okay. Correct. Rules and regulations, yama and niyama, unnai andarki. Certainly. But those are for personalities who are in the highest platform. అందరూ అలా చేయగలుగుతారా? అందరూ పూజలు పురస్కారం చేస్తున్నారా? So there are rules and regulations for different personalities. We will look at that gradually.
పూజ అంటే గదిలో చేసేదే పూజ అయి ఉంటుందా లేదంటే కూర్చొని మైండ్ తో చేసేది కూడా పూజ అవుతుందా?
పూజలో డిఫరెంట్ లెవెల్స్ ఉన్నాయి. మానసిక పూజ ఉంది, అర్చన ఉంది. బట్ మానసిక పూజ చేసే స్టేట్ లో మనం ఉన్నామా అని క్వశ్చన్ చేస్తున్నాం. Okay, can I proceed? Does that answer your question? We'll certainly look at some techniques on how to look at spiritualizing those activities. Great. What is the nature of the soul? We know this. Sachidananda. Should we take a short break here? Or we'll end early? Up to you. Nishtam. You want a break or no?
No.
When the flow is going on, it's nice. Everybody are more interested now.
Great.
To know the daily activities, how can it become spiritual, right? Everybody are waiting for the answer, right?
Fantastic.
Well, everybody has their own issue. If she is there, she's the mother. If she has this, he is an husband, he has this job. Unless we finish that, we cannot come here.
So we look at the nature of the soul, which is Sachidananda. What is the activity of the soul? What is the activity of the soul? Soul em panchestundi. Soul loves and serves. These are the two functions of the soul: to love and to serve. Whom? The Lord, of course, because we are all originating from the Lord. We are his part and parcels.
But how to serve Lord? Very deep.
Oh, this is the 9 process of devotional service. We'll look at that. Where is he? He is everywhere. We saw that. But there are means in which he accepts worship. For example, the deities ante Sri Vigrahal, they are considered to be like post boxes. And the actual post office is like Vaikunta. So can you say that the post box is a mini post office? Post box lo letter este destination ki veltunda leda? So which means post box is a bona fide representation of post office. Yes or no? So your function of delivering the letter is being taken care of by post box. The deities are like that. So the deities can be made in 8 different kinds: wood, stone, shalagram, water like Kalash. So like that, the Lord manifests himself in 8 different forms, and you can worship the Lord in that way. You can worship the Lord in mantra. You can worship the Lord in mind by meditating on the Paramatma. There are many categories of that. But the discussion of how to perceive the Lord is so vast. It is an entire subject or an entire chapter in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So I intentionally kept it out just to have the discussion a bit concise. But we will certainly have a look at that when we do a deep dive in Bhagavad Gita. It's really vast. But does that give you a tidbit of how to perceive the Lord? At least a small glimpse.
I don't feel like to love because I don't have any feeling of to love and serve.
Fantastic question. We will answer that also. Enduku ee slide lo vastund. First, expansions of love చూద్దాం. how love expands. We all usually love ourselves. Of course, that's why we are searching for happiness. Some people go beyond themselves. Family, who are stuck here, they are called misers. Sanskrit lo kripana. Some people love society also beyond this. They love themselves, they love their family, they love their society also. Some people love their country. Some people love entire humanity. Some people love nature. Nature and the entire material world. And beyond that, some people love God also. They love everything and they love God also. This is the expansion of love. But reverse is true. Every person who loves God automatically loves his creation, loves humanity, because everything is part and parcel of God. He loves his nation, he loves his society, he loves his family, and he loves himself also because he is part and parcel of God. But not necessary that everybody who loves his nation respects God. So which is why love on the platform of God, or which means love expressed towards God, is on the highest platform. Which is why we said love, when it is directed towards the Lord, is in its original form. When it is directed towards anything else, that is misdirected love. That is the cause of fall down for the Jiva. Why did the Jiva fall down into material nature? Because he misdirected this love towards the Lord, towards himself. Example, fish out of the water. Is it happy, the fish out of water?
No.
Let's say the fish came out of the water in the beach. And papam, fish ki vediga undi. Isaka ela untundi koncham granular ఉంటుంది. కూర్చోడానికి సోఫా ఇచ్చాం, తాగడానికి పానకం ఇచ్చాం, ఉండడానికి చక్కగా ఒక భవనం ఇల్లు ఇచ్చాం, మాట్లాడడానికి చక్కగా సరదాగా ఉండడానికి వేరే చేప ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఇచ్చాము, అన్ని ఇచ్చాము. సంతోషంగా ఉంటుందా? వై? Because it is out of its natural circumstance, kada? Similarly, when love is misdirected, when the spirit soul is not existing on the spiritual platform, then the propensity of loving and serving is misdirected. Whatever you do in the material world will not satisfy you. Why? Because it is not going towards its original source. That is the reason. It's misdirected. How can we acquire love for Krishna? Like you said, నాకు అసలు ప్రేమనే లేదు, తెలియట్లేదు ఇప్పుడు. I understand theoretically that I have love for Krishna, but how do I realize that? This sculpture, this is a very famous sculpture by Michelangelo. Anybody heard the name Michelangelo? He's a very, very famous artist of the Renaissance period. Anyway, Michelangelo stated, ఈ స్టాచ్యూ చూస్తే ఎస్పెషల్లీ ఇన్ ద 13th 14th century, ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ ఒక మనిషి ఉన్నట్టే ఉంది కదా. చూడండి, వెయిన్స్ అన్ని ఉంటాయి ఇక్కడ. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ షూర్ ఇఫ్ యూర్ ఏబుల్, చేతి మీద చూడండి. ఆ లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ డీటెయిల్ ఆ రోజుల్లో ఎవరు చేసేవారు కాదు. అండ్ పీపుల్ వర్ షాక్డ్ అండ్ దే వర్ ఆస్కింగ్ మైకెలాంజెలో, హౌ డిడ్ యూ డూ దిస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్కల్ప్చర్స్? ఇంత బాగా మీరు ఎలా చేస్తున్నారు? దాన్ని ఏమంటారు, చెక్కడం బేసిక్లీ, వాట్ ఎవర్. సో దాన్ హౌ ఆర్ యూ డూయింగ్ దట్? అది ఎలా చేస్తున్నారు? మైకెలాంజెలో ఏం చెప్పారు తెలుసా? The Lord already created this form in the stone. I am only removing the excess garbage. బయట ఉన్న చెత్తనే నేను తీసేస్తున్నాను నా చిజల్ తోటి. The form is already created by the Lord. Similarly, inherently we all have Krishna prema. To love is very natural. It is the propensity of the soul. That is there stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is another Vedic text. Madhya Leela, chapter 22. Somebody wants to read this translation?
True love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens.
Exactly. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Uday. So this love, propensity to love the Lord is inherent in everybody. అది కప్పేసింది. దేంతో కప్పేసింది? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. That's why you have to purify from those dirts. How do you reinstate that love? Sravanadi Chutta Siddhe Karaya Udaya. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. That is the process. So why don't we have spontaneous love for Krishna? It is like this. మేఘాలు ఉన్నప్పుడు సూర్యుడు కనిపిస్తారా? And gradually, when the clouds are dissipated by the power of the sun, then you can actually have a view of the bright sky, correct? The Shastra also recommends the same thing. Kechit kevalya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dhunvanti kartsneya niharamiha bhaskara. Bhagavatam is stating, only a rare person who has adopted complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna, devotional service means bhakti, can uproot the weeds of sinful actions which we are trying to nullify karma, uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. Yesterday you asked a question, what will happen if karma is zero? There is no necessity. Karma is zero means you're still in the material world. You'll always do some kind of activity because you're existing here. So therefore, you will again start filling up your account, like that granary example we saw. Only bhakti can uproot the weeds of sinful reactions. He can do this by simply discharging devotional service. We saw the 9 processes of devotional service. Just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. Agham dhunvanti kartsneya niharam iva bhaskara. Niharam means clearing. Iva Bhaskara. Bhaskara means sun. So devotional service is like that magnet which can cleanse all the dust away from the heart. That is why the first step of transcendental realization or spiritual practices is Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Cleanse the mirror of your mind. Then Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. Then the fire of material pursuits will subside. Shreya Kairava Chindrika means then the bliss of transcendental knowledge will arise in your heart. This is from Shikshashtaka. Again from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Can I practice Bhakti Yoga in my family life? Now we are getting to the practical aspects of it. How many of you think yes? How many of you think no?
Yes.
Yes? Yes? Which is why we are here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be. Absolutely, 100%. Arjuna was a householder. He was a grihastha. He heard Bhagavad Gita and he got transcendental realization. So when Arjuna could do it, why can't we? Certainly we can. Out of the 12 Mahajanas that I mentioned, Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, 8 of them are householders. So why can't we as householders follow in their footsteps? That is why Shastra recommends Mahajana Yena Gata Sapanta. Follow in the footsteps of the great Mahajanas. How can I get time to practice Bhakti Yoga? You all have so much worry time, work time, waste time. So many pursuits we are pursuing by utilizing time. Now we understand that all these pursuits are futile because they are leading to more and more entanglement. So now it's time to cut down on those pursuits and rethink where I can utilize this for higher pursuits. So you have to reevaluate your life. Where am I wasting time? ఇది నాకు నిజంగానే అవసరం లేదా? పనికి రానివన్నీ నేను ఎలా జీవితంలో తీసేసి ఆ సెక్షన్ లో నేను డివోషనల్ సర్వీస్ ఎలా చేయొచ్చు? It's time to reevaluate. All of us have different utility of time. So you have to reevaluate where we can utilize that time effectively. Some methods we can see. Oh, I love this. Is my favorite question. Is spirituality a retirement program? ఎప్పుడో ముసలోళ్ళు అయిన తర్వాత అప్పుడెప్పుడో 60 ఏళ్ళు వచ్చాక ఆరాంసే కుర్చీలో ఇలా ఊగుతూ భగవద్గీత చదువుదామని పెద్దవాళ్ళు ప్లాన్ చేస్తారు. Who knows? That's a very good question. Yeah, so you are saying yes?
No.
You can't
No.
Prabhuji, it may
My
happen.
grandfather, he was 95. He was he's studying now Bhagavad Gita very well. Not everybody.
Now, how much time you can spend? You are now spirituality. Maybe that time you can spend maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. That is the idea.
You have more worries of sickness and you can't concentrate.
But question is not that no, you cannot do no. That is question is no, you should not do it. That time you should do. That is not the question.
Wow.
You can do now,
Also
but that
can be-
time more you have to do. That's
Prabhuji, it may happen that we may not live until that much span of age also.
by any cause if we
Yesterday we saw the example. Who is the older person? The 60-year-old who can live till 70 or the 5.5-year-old who can live till 6? Who is the older person? And we saw the quotation of Labdhva Sudurlabham shloka also, that this human form of life is so valuable and it is always prone to death. Yaksha Prashna let's kada maybe Yaksha Prashna. When Yudhishthir Maharaj went, telsa meeku? He went to a lake and then he found all the Pandavas dead. That means they were lying dead, morchapadu. Then one Yamaraj in the form of Yaksha asks a lot of questions to Yavadharmaraj. And one of the questions he asks is, what is the most surprising thing in this world? అన్నిటికంటే ఆశ్చర్యమైన విషయం ఈ జగత్తులో ఏంటి? అయితే యమధర్మరాజు ఏమంటారు? What does he say? Correct. Anumrityu yavat. Every second, every moment, we are seeing all the personalities around us subjugated to death. But we are thinking, I won't die. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is saying that is the most surprising thing. Then look at people, how foolish they are. So you never know. Are you willing to take the risk that I will live till 95 and I can read for Bhagavad Gita hours together? Is that a risk that you are willing to take? Because look at the other side. If it doesn't work out, will you again get a human form of life? There are how many options that are available beyond that, this body that we have? It's crazy. Are you willing to take millions of births again to get this human form of life? And maybe attain journey of self-discovery and maybe get opportunities to study Bhagavad Gita? Look at the probability of that happening. Are you willing to take that risk? Answer is
The other way around, we can say that if I don't study, I cannot come to it.
Yeah.
If I don't study, like this boy and girls, they are there. If they don't study, they cannot come to Kuwait or anywhere else. So now study is important or spirituality is important for them.
like we saw. Again, material pleasures are there, emotional pleasures are there, intellectual pleasures are there, and spiritual needs are there. All these are needs for everybody. These need to be addressed. How these need to be addressed is like salt. వంట చేసేటప్పుడు ఉప్పు ఎలా వేస్తారు? అప్రోప్రియేట్ గా వేస్తారు. కారం ఎలా వేస్తారు? అప్రోప్రియేట్ గా తగినంత అంటారు. వంటలు చేసేటప్పుడు యూట్యూబ్ లో తగినంత వేయండి అంటే ఏంటి? ఎక్కువ వేయకూడదు, తక్కువ వేయకూడదు. Material pursuits are like that. Like salt, you have to regulate them. That is why there is regulation in spiritual life.
I have followed Bhagavad Gita. So did he reach back to Godhead?
Yes. There is the narration of that in Bhagavatam. Yudhishthir Maharaj వెనకాల ఒక కుక్క వెళ్తూ ఉంటుంది, తెలుసా మీకు? How they attain.
Yes.
And then he goes to the hellish planet. Anyway, separate dialogue. Now a question? Great. So is spirituality a retirement program? When will you retire? That's the question. And retiring from what? You have never retired from material activities. That's the question. Our whole pursuit of spirituality is to retire from material activities. Bhagavad Gita is the retirement policy. It is the retirement plan. Right? Life is a preparation. You all saw that. and death is the examination. So is spirituality important? Is studying Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam important? Okay. So now comes the practical aspects of it. What should I do now?
This important was not told to generation before us.
5 days of study culminated in that slide. It is to convince all of us that it is important. Please study.
Because for like my parents, my uncles or my friend, my father's friend in that same colony.
Hare Krishna. So what should I do now? It's a 5-step process. Please pay attention. This is the important thing. This is the practical aspects. I will quickly run through this so I can have more time for Q&A. First is accept that I am sick. Second, approach the right hospital. Third, approach the right doctor within the hospital. Avoid negative things and apply positive treatment. Let us look at each of these steps in detail. First, accept that I am sick. What are the sicknesses that we have? The 4 real problems and 3 miseries. That is the disease that we are suffering from. Jada Vyadi means material disease. The 4 real problems and 3 miseries. That is our disease. We want to be cured from it. So a hospital has కొంతమంది ఉంటారు ఎంత జ్వరం వచ్చినా కానీ డాక్టర్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళరు. తగ్గిపోతుంది ఏం కాదు జ్వరం లేదు ఏం లేదు అయినని ఆ జ్వరం కాస్త పెద్దదయ్యాక ఇంకా నా వల్ల కావట్లేదు అంటే అప్పుడు అంటారు అమ్మా తీసుకెళ్ళండి ఆటోలో తీసుకెళ్ళండి అని. ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఉందా? You have to pay the price and accept that I am sick. నా జీవితంలో నేను సంతోషంగా లేను. నాకు ఈ 4 రియల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ 3 మిసరీస్ ఉన్నాయి అని మనం రియలైజ్ అవ్వాలి. Birth, death, old age disease, Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, Adi miseries. Birth, death, old age disease are subject to everybody. Everybody has this problem. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. 3 miseries ante Adi Devik. Adi Devik miseries ante enti? Miseries from nature. Adi Bhautik, miseries from other living entities. Adi Atmik ante miseries arising out of body and mind. Easy. Video. So first, accept the fact that we are not happy and we need treatment and we need to go to a hospital. Convince yourself. Because if you are in the illusion that I am happy, I don't need to do this, then you will never get treated. The risk of that is you will get more and more sick, more and more entangled in the material nature. So convince yourself thoroughly that you are sick. You and I, both, all of us in fact. Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Atmik. Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik. One day, one person, I'll get your question. One person approached Ramanujacharya and he said, Ramanujacharya, I want to be your sincere disciple. Please accept me as your disciple and I want to pursue the path of spiritual realization under your guidance and tutelage. Ramanujacharya rejected him, said, no, you are not serious enough. You come back later when you are serious. And this disciple was very adamant. No, I want to pursue spiritual realization right now. Please accept me as your disciple. So then he said, I will keep a test for you. If you pass, then I will accept. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Ramanujacharya takes this person to a lake. చెరువు దగ్గర తీసుకెళ్ళి జుట్టు పట్టుకొని నీళ్ళలో ముంచేస్తారు. ముంచి అలా పట్టుకుంటారు నీళ్ళ కింద. వాట్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్? హి సఫోకేటింగ్. ఆల్మోస్ట్ ప్రాణం పోయే సిచ్యువేషన్ లో అలా పైకి లేపుతారు. టేకింగ్ అ బిగ్ డీప్ బ్రెత్. అమ్మాయ బతుకున్నాను. సో డెస్పరేట్ టు లివ్ కదా. Ramanujacharya said, are you so desperate to pursue spiritual realization? Only then I will accept you as my disciple. We have to be that desperate to understand Bhagavad Gita. We have to be that desperate to get out of this material entanglement. That is what it means to accept that I am sick. Yes. Prahlad Maharaj said, Kaumaram Acharet Prajna Dharman Bhagavatam. So once you imbibe those practices in a child, when he grows up, his maturity also increases. Then he understands that this value system and that framework that you imbibe in the childhood will fructify in the future. So you're already helping him. For example, look at him. He's already practicing the principles of Bhagavad Gita right now, right? So when he grows up, he will be able to understand it in a better aspect. That you have to answer.
Definitely, actually, it is more because of my wife.
Okay, parents, not mother and father. Sorry, not father and mother, parents. So we have to force our children to do this.
No, it is not a force because we are in that association. He is automatically learning. He is more keen to learn Bhagavatam. He is reading by himself. Bhagavatam he is in some fourth canto or something like that.
No. First canto, fourth chapter.
You first finished 4 chapters, right?
So your question should be,
Where do we start? What at age 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 7?
Prahlad Maharaj is recommending start at age 5.
Because he started very early with the work, right?
I don't know why he said, but he said start at age 5. And Shastra is saying follow the path of Mahajanas.
So he actually reads by himself and asks a lot of questions. Because he is keen to know, instead of like reading the small stories like textbook stories and all what we again get from this other syllabus books and all, he reads those and he understands that as a concept that helps him.
Okay. Right from childhood,
He's interested in
the entire Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is taught to children. When they grow up and they have an option to do the right thing, the wrong thing. And they also have the intelligence to differentiate between right and wrong. Again, it comes back to ABCD. So they are making the right choice. And you have given them that framework to have the right choice. Children are also very intelligent. Like I take a lot of children's classes. So I understand that they also have that ability to question and inquire. Ability for higher inquiry and discussion, ABCD, they have that. They're very curious.
I think they don't have interest. Right? I think we have to
Actually,
force
they do.
them.
They do.
Every parent has that. How can we force them?
Ah.
How can you take your child?
That comes primarily మనం పాటిస్తే వాళ్ళు చేస్తారు. నా తమ్ముడు ఉన్నాడు. I have my younger brother is 13 years younger to me. We have a lot of age gap. నేను ఏది చేస్తే అది చేస్తాడు. Everything. He doesn't know how to chant. But నేను జపమాల పట్టుకుంటే he wants జపమాల. నేను భగవద్గీత పట్టుకుంటే he wants భగవద్గీత. I used to take one నైవేద్యం పెడుతున్నాను అనుకోండి. తన పక్కనే ఒక ఫోటో పెట్టుకొని తను కూడా ఏదో ఒకటి నైవేద్యం పెట్టుకోవాలన్నమాట. He used to imitate me from everything. Today, parents are addicted to their mobile phones. So naturally, children are also addicted to their mobile phones. Children will imitate whatever you do. So, on a hypocrite basis, if you tell them that no chai, then tarvat chesta. Hey, ne peddonni, నేను చెప్పిన మాట నువ్వు వినాలి and force చేసామంటే they'll never listen. They'll rebel. So, lead by example is the motto. Naturally, I've seen hundreds and thousands of parents, at least within the ISKCON congregation, they themselves are pursuing this so seriously, the children automatically get inspired. Wow, my father means real business with this. So let me inquire, why is he so serious about it? Srila Prabhupada, the founder acharya of ISKCON, used to say, his father, Gaur Mohan Dey, was a cloth merchant. He used to come back at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night after closing the shop. At that time also he used to do Aarati, he used to read Bhagavatam. And when he was a small boy, he used to listen to the bell ringing at mid of the night. And then he used to understand, oh, my father is back. So children imitate whatever we do. That is the reason why we should follow seriously. Lead by example. Children, this is the best thing to do. Best thing. Lead by example. Absolutely. Absolutely. What are words in children? Next children's program, by mistake, I used some word which was not very good word to use in a spiritual discussion. And all the children started to use that word. Then I know, okay, which was filter word quality. I understood. They will imitate. They will really imitate.
But if everyone goes in the spiritual world, then you will not have engineers, doctors.
Excellent. So your question is, should I pursue bhakti full time?
I don't know what to ask. Like now she's there. She also has some good knowledge about bhakti, right? So do you have any ambition to become a doctor or an engineer?
Yeah, I do have become a doctor.
So how are you going to manage these two?
One part and one part. I don't think I will be attaining full spiritual like him. I just want to get the essence of Bhagavad Gita and try to implement something in my life, and not absolutely everything.
First of all, I didn't attain anything spiritual. Secondly, very good maturity. Very nice.
What is the age now?
30.
From when you started following this?
It's not following. I
Yeah.
have some
Whenever
interest
you
in that.
started the interest in
My mother is more into this. So from that I got, I'm hearing this
Exactly.
childhood. Here and there, so I get some knowledge about this.
In Putti Perigin, my mama was there. My grandmother always, almost every day, she used to read Bhagavad Gita. She also was a very nice devotee of Lord Ram. She used to serve the temple of Lord Ram arrangements. And from, I think, 3 months old or 4 months old, she used to take me. Somehow or the other, I feel that I'm grateful to my grandparents because they connected me, and in my childhood, I saw them performing Bhakti. Maybe the 10x came from there. Like that. Children definitely imitate this. And your question?
My son didn't follow.
They have the free will.
So now we have to ask the Prabhuji how to make him follow.
You send him.
ask this question.
You send him to our classes. We will make it. But there is a very good chance for them to follow. That is what I mean. Because for children, the parents are heroes. And when you are giving up on that, right, on a long time basis, my brother especially, he looks up to me like anything, and even I love him a lot naturally. We have such a relationship that if I tell him that today, sometimes he calls me and says, "Anna, my mind is very anxious." Then I tell him, "Look at this verse in Bhagavad Gita; it has the solution." Immediately he hangs up the phone, he reads and he's like, "Thank you," because now we've built that kind of a rapport with each other. So sometimes you have to be heroes for them. But they will look at it. So internally they want it because everybody wants happiness.
Here, we manage the timing. Like for example, he doesn't
Exactly.
reading the scriptures and all the entire time. Maybe a half an hour, 1 hour, day, he keep time for that. And sometimes he do chanting and aarti. So that takes maybe like 1 hour during non-working day, like no weekends. During actually school days and all, rarely he spends like maybe a half an hour for chanting in the evening time. Otherwise, he's fully into his.
So it is important.
Like you have morning and evening, morning work and evening you are at home. But for me, it's not like that. For me, 24 hours is divided for 8 hours shift. Either I have worked towards 6 to 2 or 2 to 10 or 10 to 6. So I'm doing 8 hours of work. 1 hour before I have to prepare to go here. And after this work, I need 1 hour to relax after this. So my 10 hours is finished. So in 24 hours, 10 hours is finished. I have only 14 hours left. The 14 hours means minimum 8 hours to sleep. I have only 6 hours left. In the 6 hours, I have to eat, drink, blah. So where I have time to, rather I am telling now, my daughter is an engineer, a doctor, she's studying, thank God for that. It is because of her. No, she has taken care of them. I didn't have time. That is why yesterday when I was telling about my grandfather, I was not connected with my mother and father. I was connected more with my grandfather, with my grandmother. And I spent more of my childhood with them rather than my parents. Because they were busy. My mother was cooking. My father was going for work. He was going in the morning and coming in the evening. So no. Okay, then if that is the case, the wife or the mother has to work or no? If she is working, she cannot spend time with the children. And then the children maybe.
If the mother and father are working to provide for the family, they
But
can.
nowadays it is both
Of course,
have
it
to
is-
work like.
For sure. But
What about the children?
question is, what are you doing with the fruits of work? That is where karma yoga comes.
I don't have time to think of that also.
సింపుల్ అండి.
My work, I come for
మీరు
it.
జాబ్ చేస్తున్నారా? మీ సాలరీని మీరు ఏ విధంగా వాడుకుంటున్నారు? ఫ్యామిలీని పోషించడానికి. ఫ్యామిలీని ఏ విధంగా పోషిస్తున్నారు? And what pursuits are you telling them to pursue also? Because you are taking care of your family. So which means you are also giving them a roadmap and vision, right? So what kind of vision are you giving them? So you should give them a spiritual foundation, and then on top of that you can have a material pursuit as well within the world. Like you said, if the whole world were engineers, will the world work? If the whole world was accountants, will the world function? The whole world was spiritualists, will the world function? Certainly there are a minute percentage who pursue spirituality on a full-time basis. They are called brahmacharis and sannyasis. It's like this. యూనివర్సిటీలో గ్రాడ్యుయేట్ అయిన ప్రతి ఒక్క స్టూడెంట్ వెనక్కి మళ్ళీ అదే యూనివర్సిటీలో ప్రొఫెసర్ గా జాయిన్ అవుతాడా? వెరీ మైన్యూట్ పర్సెంటేజ్ హూ యాక్చువల్లీ థింక్ దట్ ఐ వాంట్ టు pursue teaching. So similarly, these percentage of spiritualists are like that. But the rest of the people also have to pursue spirituality in their own realms. Examples istam. Okay. Just out of context example istam. You are eating. That can be spiritualized when you offer whatever you eat to Krishna. So that is one of the slides that I have. Can we get to that deck very quickly before I get to those slides? Because I want to finish this so that I can answer more questions. We looked at first principle, that accepting that I have an issue. I think all of you have accepted, so that you are asking questions, what is the solution? We'll get to that. Right hospital, that is also important. If I have a ear problem, I go to an ENT guy. Correct? If I have a stomach, then I will go to a gastroenterology clinic. Temple is like a spiritual hospital. There's an acronym for temple. Temple gives tranquility. Temple gives education, spiritual education. Temple gives medication for the jadavyadi, for the material disease. Purification of the consciousness, love towards God, and engagement. Engagement means engagement in devotional activities. So do we have temples in Kuwait? No, right? What is this? What is on top? So the Indian flag represents government of India is ruling India, correct? So who is ruling the house when that is there on top? So your TV is ruling the house. So the idea is make Krishna as the center of your house. Make him the focus of your life. And I am pursuing everything for Krishna. Who gave you this material body? It is Krishna through the laws of nature. I am taking care of this body for Krishna. Devotees use this word called ICO. ICO ante in the care of. So they understand that this body doesn't belong to me, because I have to leave this body anyway after a certain period of time, right? So they say this body is under my care in this lifetime. All these temporary identities and relationships that I associate with myself are under my care. So because they have been given to me by Krishna, let me take care of them properly. Family has been given to me. Parents have been given to me by Krishna. Let me take care of them for Krishna's sake. So the idea or intention is Krishna. Center is Krishna. But pursuits are similar. Pursuits are similar. So which is why the activities of a spiritualist and a materialist look very similar, but they are not, because the plane of execution is different. Consciousness is different. So you can have a altar at the center of your house. Many of us have altars, just so small and towards such a corner of the house. That is why Krishna also reciprocated. We saw ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamiham. With the mentality that you worship me or approach me, the same way I reciprocate with you. So when you want to push away the Lord in some corner, the Lord also pushed you away in some corner of the material world. Let's make him the focus of our house. Children, I've seen so many children. The altar is the center of attraction for their house. Altar is at the center. Which means what? All focus is on the Lord. Intro unnappudu graha ashram. Ashram means a place where you pursue spiritual activities and a place of austerities. So in that house, I'm no longer pursuing sense gratification. I'm no longer pursuing entertainment. I'm the master of my house is the Lord. And I'm going to worship him. So the children are engaged in nice activities. The family comes together, prays together. The family glorifies the Lord together. All of them assist each other in worshiping the Lord beautifully. Right? Discuss activities. See this young boy, entertainment purposes. He doesn't even know how to speak. So which means he is born in Russia, probably 1.5 years or 2 years old. The propensity to play, the propensity to entertain is existing, but that propensity has been dovetailed to Krishna consciousness. So similarly, it is our responsibility to engage them in various ways. They have play time. Devotee children also play with each other, but they enact pastimes of Krishna. They say, you are this asura, I am this asura, let's fight. So activity might look the same, but the execution, the platform of consciousness is totally different. Amazing.
Home as a temple is necessary for bhakti, or is that bhakti to keep it ourselves and can we say spiritual?
It is very important that you have a physical manifestation also. Because you have a gross body, you have a subtle body, and you have spirit soul, right? On 3 different platforms, you need to be purified. Is your mind so pure that you just sit for a minute, sit steady, and examine your mind? A million thoughts are flowing through a second. So in that state of consciousness, are you able to focus on the Lord fully right now? So how can you think that I don't need an external manifestation? But if you have a mandir, look at this, so beautiful. Right at the middle, at the center of attraction of your house. Then naturally, he becomes the center of our lives. All the family members don't exist to serve each other, but they all serve the Lord together. Did you look at the difference? They don't serve each other. They all serve the Lord together. They are doing the same activities as other families are doing, but it is on a devotional platform. That is Bhakti Yoga. If you don't have place, you don't have to have a elaborate altar. You can have a small altar, or a small photo also is okay. Like we just discussed, the Lord manifests in 8 different forms and he accepts worship. So everybody needs to practice worshipping the Lord as a temple. Approach the right doctor. That is also important. Hospital కి వెళ్ళాము, కరెక్ట్ హాస్పిటల్కి వెళ్ళాము. Are you talking to the correct doctor or not? Is he bona fide or not? నేనున్నానండి సర్జరీ మీద, బ్రెయిన్ సర్జరీ మీద ఓ 2000 పేజెస్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ ని 3-4 సార్లు పట్టేశాను. ఏ సర్జరీ, బ్రెయిన్ సర్జరీ చెప్పంటే నేను మొత్తం అప్పచెప్పేస్తా. రేపు మీకు ఏదైనా న్యూరలాజికల్ ఇష్యూ అనుకోండి, నా చేసి సర్జరీ చేస్తారు, నన్ను అడగను కూడా అడగరు సలహాలు కదా. వై? ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్. సో సిమిలర్లీ a doctor ante enti, he needs to be certified, authorized. How to get spiritual remediation? ఈ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ నుంచి నాకు హీలింగ్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి రావాలి, ఆన్ డే టు డే బేసిస్ నన్ను ఎవరు గైడ్ చేస్తారు, మెంటర్షిప్ ఎవరి దగ్గర తీసుకుంటారు అంటే, that also you have to approach on a bona fide doctor. Shastra is recommending who are bona fide doctors. This is from Garga Samhita. Samamboram, chala big text, I know that. I usually don't like to have big text like this. The crux of this is there are 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. Student, the preservation of eternal righteous Kali Yuga, Vishnu Swami, Madhvacharya, Ramanuja, and Nimbaditya will appear respectively as portion of Vamana, Brahma, Ananta, and Shesha, and Sanat Kumara. Okay, these are the 4 Kumaras. These 4 saviors will be the establishers of the 4 authorized and empowered spiritual channels and paramparas of disciplic succession in the period calculated from the reign of King Vikrama in 54 BC. Subsequently, through the 432,000 year, universal time cycle, which means in Kali Yuga you will have 4 different Vaishnava Sampradayas by these acharyas: Vishnu Swami, Madhvacharya, Ramanuja, and Nimbaditya. These 4 authorized and empowered spiritual channels of disciplic succession are to be fully accepted by all beings. These are our doctors and the lineage of doctors. As any word, combination of words, or formulation of sound frequencies invoked or addressed, audible or inaudible, secret or revealed, ancient or contemporary, outside their auspices, and outside these 4 paramparas, prove to have absolutely no efficacy. In other words, ఒక మందు కొంటాం, దానిపైన ఏం చూస్తాం, హాల్ మార్క్ ఉందా లేదా అని చూస్తాం, అదే ఒరిజినల్ లేదా, ఎందుకు అప్పుడే పనిచేస్తుంది. Similarly, if you see a spiritual personality and says that I am a guru, so that means you will ask which parampara do you belong from. ఈ 4 paramparas లో ఏ పరంపరలో ఉన్నావు, who is the lineage, who is your spiritual master, ఆ spiritual master ఎవరు. Just like a doctor, మీ డాక్టర్ మెడిసిన్ ఏ కాలేజ్ లో చదివారండి, ఓకే నిమ్స్ లో చదివాను. ఓకే, నిమ్స్ ఏ బోర్డు ఉందండి, ఏఐసిటి బోర్డు నుంచి ఆథరైజ్డ్ అయ్యి ఉంది. ఓకే, ఫెంటాస్టిక్. ఏఐసిటి కాదు, ఎయిమ్స్. So then you understand, okay, AIMS is an authorized body of Government of India, and anybody certified by AIMS is a bona fide doctor. Similarly, anybody, any personality who is belonging to one of these 4 sampradayas is a bona fide representative of these 4 acharyas, and these 4 acharyas are the bona fide authorities to propagate the spiritual truths in humanity. So these are our doctors. There are 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. Lord Krishna authorized these 4 personalities, as we saw in that verse. 4 personalities evaru? Brahma, Lakshmi, Shiva, and 4 Kumaras. And వీళ్ళ యొక్క పరంపరాని కూడా ఆ పరంపర వాళ్ళ పేరు మీద ఉంటుంది. For example, the parampara beginning from Lord Brahma is called Brahma Sampradaya. The parampara beginning from Shri or Lakshmi Devi is called Shri Sampradaya. The parampara beginning from Lord Shiva is called Rudra Sampradaya, and the parampara beginning from the 4 Kumaras is called Kumara Sampradaya. ప్రతి యూనివర్సిటీకి ఒక డీన్ ఉంటారు కదా, అదే విధంగా ఒక పరంపరకి ఒక ప్రధానక ఆర్ ఫౌండర్ ఆచార్య ఉంటారు. Madhvacharya is considered as the Acharya of Brahma Sampradaya. Similarly, Ityadi. All of them are basically like different boards, state syllabus, central syllabus ఉంటుంది చూసారా, all of them are authorized boards of education, but they are propagating the same syllabus.
Vishnu Swami, we can also tell him as Lord Shankaracharya.
No, that is different. All right. So ISKCON అనే సొసైటీకి ఫౌండర్ ఆచార్య is Srila Prabhupada. This is Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada anedi, it's a title given to Acharya, like Guru or Acharya. Prabhupada is a title, but his name is Bhaktivedanta Swami. So ISKCON also is an organization that belongs to the Brahma Sampradaya. Within the Brahma Sampradaya, specifically a branch known as Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and he is the 32nd Acharya. నువ్వు ఏ డాక్టర్ దగ్గర ట్రీట్మెంట్ తీసుకున్నావు అంటే రెఫరెన్స్ ఇస్తారు కదా, ఒక రెఫరెన్స్ ఇస్తున్నా అంతే. డోంట్ హ్యావ్ టు నెసెసరీలీ టేక్ షెల్టర్ ఆఫ్ హిమ్, బట్ దిస్ ఇస్ అ రెఫరెన్స్. దేర్ ఆర్ మెనీ సచ్ బోనఫైడ్ స్పిరిచువల్ మాస్టర్స్. ఎస్పెషల్లీ ఆంధ్ర వాళ్ళకి చాలా మందికి చిన్నజీవ స్వామి తెలుసు. హీ ఈస్ ఫ్రమ్ ద శ్రీ సంప్రదాయ, originating from Ramanujacharya. So there are many acharyas like that, Pramanika acharyas, who are belonging to the sampradaya. So when you say this person is a guru, then immediately you should ask which sampradaya do you belong to, and then you will ask who is your spiritual master, who is your spiritual master. Like that, if you backtrack, then finally it will lead to one of these personalities, or one of these personalities. So that is how you can identify who is a bona fide guru and who is a not a bona fide guru. Okay, treatment తీసుకుంటున్నాం కదా, డాక్టర్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళాం, ట్రీట్మెంట్ తీసుకుంటున్నాం. సపోజ్ సర్జరీ చేశారనుకోండి, they did a surgery. Doctor will say, don't eat these particular things while you are getting treated. అవునా కదా నాన్న, ఈ టైంలో నువ్వు సపోజ్ పొటాటో తినకు, సెప్టిక్ అవుతుంది. Don't eat besan. Don't eat this particular items because it's harmful for you. Treatment ki prati treatment ki ఏదో ఒక restrictions ఉంటుందా ఉండదా? Something or the other will be there, correct? Similarly, for spiritual treatment also there are restrictions. So there are 4 prohibitions which are supposed to be avoided, which are harmful for spiritual pursuit. Are these bad or good? They have their own karma. But for spiritual pursuits, they are bad. They are harmful. What are those? Meat eating, gambling, intoxication, and illicit relations. So why? Because there are 4 pillars of dharma. Dharma has 4 pillars explained in Bhagavatam. What is that? Satyam, Saucham, Daya, Tapa. If you violate the principle of meat eating, or if you indulge in meat eating, then you are violating the principle of compassion. Why? Because all living entities are spirit souls. All of them are children of God. So that means, which father will be happy when one brother is killing the other? So therefore, compassion is lost when you indulge in meat eating. That is why persons who are pursuing spiritual realization are abstaining from meat eating. Gambling, truthfulness, satyam. When you gamble, what happens? You are desperate to win, and that brings about the peak of material desire. A compulsion wala, you are so addicted to material success that you are ready to give up everything. You are ready to cheat also. You also, that IICC, we have cheating propensity, illusion, imperfect senses, and condition. Committing mistakes.
Material pleasure is also required.
Yes, like we mentioned, like salt. To what extent will you pursue it? Even if you pursue it, what is the outcome? Will you be ultimately happy with it? Session number 1, which you missed, we decided that it is no, right? So gambling is truthfulness. Intoxication, of course. Which person who is intoxicated can pursue spiritual life, can pursue anything for that matter? Athletes unnaru, they have such a strict regimen. Correct or not? They are not indulging in whatever they want. They have such a strict regimen that I have to get gold medals, I have to do this. They abstain from intoxication. That leads to violation of the principle called tapa. So when you intoxicate yourself, especially with material pleasures or material pursuits, your focus on spiritual life is lost. So that is why we decided that, or we discussed, one of the benefits of spiritual realization is focus. And that is obtained when you abstain from intoxication. So even things like Aphrodisiacs. Aphrodisiacs are like chocolate, garlic. These are also avoided usually by spiritualists, specifically for this reason, because they intoxicate the mind to indulge in lower material pleasures. So, which is why they abstain from them. So, better to abstain than to indulge and then regret later. Abstain from it. That's the reason why please don't eat onion and garlic. Yes. Again, if you ask me if it's good or bad, answer is it's up to you. If you want spiritual realization, you have to abstain. That's the point. I'm not saying you have to do this. Yes. Chocolate is considered as an aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac under this. Aphrodisiac is basically something that stimulates your desire to unite with the opposite gender. Ardhamayindi kada peddavallaki? Fantastic. Anything, any relationship outside of marriage is considered illicit, and that also is abstained because it destroys the principle of purity, purity of mind, purity of thought. In fact, some people take it further also. Within the principle of marriage also, the husband and wife don't enjoy each other just for the sake of enjoying it. They unite only for the reason of begetting children. Other than that, they don't indulge themselves in uniting with each other. So they abstain to that level also because they are so serious for spiritual pursuit. Anyway, accepting positive treatment. This is important. Of course, you abstain and then mandal got this treatment. ABCD, this is another ABCD. Second kind of ABCD. First ABCD, we saw the difference between human beings and animals. This is another set of ABCD, which is your positive treatment. This is their actual treatment. A stands for association. Just like iron. Iron, when it is on fire, it acquires the properties of fire, correct? My roommates were there, college roommates. Muggurki, nalguru undevallu room. 3 of them loved football. They were fanatics about football. Football ante enta pitch ante నాలుగో వాడు ఏదో పల్లెటూరు నుంచి అండి వాడు ఫుట్బాల్ వాడు చూసుకున్నాడు లైఫ్ లో. బై ద ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద ఫైనల్ ఇయర్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ వాడు ఫుట్బాల్ ఎంత పిచ్చి అయిపోయిందంటే ఆ మిగతా 3 కంటే వీడికి ఎక్కువ అయిపోయింది పిచ్చి. ఫుట్బాల్ అంటే అసోసియేషన్ ఇస్ లైక్ దట్. So if you are associated with brilliant people, you become brilliant. If you are associated with business-minded people, then you become a businessman or an entrepreneur. At least that desire invigorates in you. Correct? Birds of the same feather flock together. So similarly, when you are associating with personalities who are pursuing spirituality and devotees, then you also are dovetailed towards spiritual life. Or spiritual life becomes more easy for you. Doesn't become a struggle. So associating with devotees is very, very important. How frequently should you associate? As far as possible. That means should you reject association of other personalities who are not pursuing devotion? Answer, you don't associate with them. Associate ante enti? To pay attention. To listen to what they say, Shravanam, and to implement that in life. But when you associate with or when you take company of other people who are not pursuing spirituality, for example, there are colleagues here or there are other friends who are not interested. So there you don't give your heart to them. You give your mind and you give your body to them. But you give your heart to Krishna because that is what you want ultimately in life. Simple as that. So this is a recommendation. A person never becomes a drunkard by himself. He becomes a drunkard by being in company of drunkards. Smoking also, that is how. Every addiction that you take is in company of some addict or another. So that way, association is very, very important. If you want to pursue spirituality, be in the association of other spiritualists. B is for books. P is for books. Yesterday we decided or we discussed that which are the two books which talk about pure love for God, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So when your life ambition is to pursue loving God, then you read these books, then you will understand how to pursue life. These books are telling you how to love God. So if you read these books, then you will be enlightened, acha, what to do. These are like manuals. Washing machine కొనుక్కున్నారు, ఎలా వాడాలి అనేది ఎందులో ఉంటుంది? మాన్యువల్ లో ఉంటుంది. మాన్యువల్ చదివితేనే కదా మన ఉపయోగం తెలుస్తుంది. మనిషి జీవితం వచ్చింది. These are the manuals for human form of life. So to make this human form of life successful, read the manual and get the benefit. As simple as that. If you don't read the manual, then you don't get the full benefit. అందరి దగ్గర ఆ టీవీలో ఒక బటన్ ఉంటుంది, ఆ రిమోట్ లో. ఆ బటన్ ఏం చేస్తుందో తెలియదు ఎవరికి. ఆ బటన్ అలాగే ఉంటుంది. కరెక్టా కదా? ఆ మాన్యువల్ తెరిచి చదివితే ఓహో ఈ ఫంక్షన్ కూడా ఉందా నా టీవీలో అని తెలుస్తుంది ఎప్పటికో. సిమిలర్లీ భగవద్గీత తెరిచి చూస్తే అప్పుడు తెలుస్తుంది, ఓహో హ్యూమన్ ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ లో ఏబిసిడి ఉన్నాయా. దట్స్ వై ఐఎమ్ స్పెషల్ అని. సో బుక్స్ ఆర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. Finally, C for chanting. Chanting the name of Lord, we already discussed this. The difference between material sound and spiritual sound. How spiritual sound awakens the spiritual body. Right? Why specifically the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Let us look at some citations from scripture. Srimad Bhagavatam states, Krite yad dhyayato Vishnum tretayam yajito makhai dwapare paricharyayam kalotad hari kirtanat. Which means we saw the universal time. There are 4 yugas. What is the recommended process of spiritual emancipation for Krita Yuga? Whatever result was obtained in Satyuga by meditating on Vishnu. Krite dhyayato Vishnu. Right? Vishwamitra Muni meditated for 70,000 years under the ocean floor. Do we have 70,000 years to live? 5 నిమిషాలు కూడా ఊపిరాడలేదు నీళ్ళ కింద. So this process is not meant for us. Us ante personalities in Kali Yuga. Krite dhyayato Vishnu tretayam yajato makai. Tretayam yajato makai. Treta yugamlo ఏం చేయాలి? Performing sacrifice, yajna. For performing sacrifices, yajna, you need a perfectly qualified brahmana who sense control to the top. You need ingredients which are perfect, and you need a place which is perfect. You need mantra ucharana which is perfect. Everything that yajna needs to be 100% perfect. Today, mani itukal podi ammutunara, karam podi ammutunara teliyadu. How you will get perfect pure substances to perform yajna? And where is that qualified brahmana? Very, very rare. Chala takkuva ee age lo. So tretayam yajato makai. This age, this also is not recommended or suitable for us. Dwapare paricharyayam, which means serving the Lord's lotus feet. Where? How? By ostentatious and grand worship of temples. Especially mana puratana kalanlo temples kattinappudu chuste enta grand ga untayi temples. మొన్న మనకి పద్మనాభ స్వామి టెంపుల్ లో నిధులు ఎలా దొరికాయి? అంత గ్రాండ్ గా వర్షిప్ చేసేవారు వాళ్ళు. ఇన్ఫాక్ట్ కింగ్స్ యూస్ టు పర్స్యూ material wealth so that they can utilize that for the worship of the Lord. They used to tax the citizens so that they can use the tax for welfare and for the pleasure of the Lord. So they used to construct grand temples. 700,000 years పట్టేది ఒక టెంపుల్ కట్టడానికి. ఆ 1000 years ప్రాజెక్ట్ అంటే ఎన్ని ఫండ్స్ కావాలి? ఒక రోడ్ కట్టడానికి మనం $70-80 billion కడుతున్నాం. కరెక్టా కదా? ఆయిల్ డ్రిల్ చేయాలంటే how many billions of dollars are used for oil drilling? So imagine if a 1000-year project is there to construct temple like Angkor Wat, Tirupati, Srirangam. It should take generations together and so much wealth. So ostentatious grand worship of the Lord was recommended in Dwapar Yuga. Kali Yuga, all these benefits that they did in the previous yugas can be obtained simply by chanting the Hare Krishna. Kalotad Hari Kirtana. Bhagavatam is recommending. Similarly, similar verses there in Padma Puran, Vishnu Puran, Brahman Naradya Puran also, which says Dhyatam Krite Yajna Tretayam Dwapare Archayan Yadapnoti Tadapnoti Kalo Sankirta Keshavam. Somebody read the translation.
whenever whatever is achieved by meditation is achieved by the performance of sacrifice in Treta Yuga and by the worship of Lord Krishna's lotus feet in Dwapara Yuga is obtained in the age of Kali simply by glorifying the name of Lord Keshava.
So even other scriptures are recommending the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. In the previous discussion, we saw other religions are also recommending chanting the holy names of Lord. Names of Lord are unlimited. Specifically, our scriptures are recommending the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This Brahmanda Purana verse exclusively states the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Nama Sankirtan Devatarakam Brahma Drishyate Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Nam Sankirtana means public chanting, congregational chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra delivers a complete revelation of all spiritual reality. So this verse also is confirming the previous verses. Kalisantaran Upanishad. Narada Muni is asking Brahma that Narada Muni is going around in the universe everywhere. He doesn't stay for more than 5 minutes in one place. So, వెళ్తూనే ఉంటారు. Suppose Kali Yuganlo నేను Earthly planet వెళ్ళాను అనుకోండి. How to get out of the contamination of Kali Yuga? Because Kali Yuga is considered to be the dark age or iron age. Lot of bad elements in Kali Yuga. So, ఆ bad elements నుంచి నేను ఎలా protect చేసుకోవాలి అని he is asking his father Brahmadev. Then Lord Brahma is saying this in response. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashaka Namnam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Nata Paratropaya Sarvavedishu Drishyate. In the entire Vedic scriptures, I don't see any other solution other than chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to protect from all the inauspiciousness of the age of Kali. This is the conclusion of all the Vedas. Brahma is saying. Narada is asking in the next shloka, okay, ఈ Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting చేయడానికి ఏంటి rules and regulations? Brahma is saying there are no rules and regulations. Absolutely no rules and regulations. You can chant this Mahamantra 24/7 in any situation whatsoever. Because even if you keep rules and regulations, we are not in a position to follow. We are so degraded. Lord is so merciful, he said, okay, chant my name whenever you want. So A, B, C is done. T is diet. Books are diet for the intellect and the mind. So prasadam is a diet for the body. Prasadam is food offered to the Lord. Food offered to the Lord is called bhoga or naivedya. And what the Lord reciprocates is called prasada. Prasada means it is an offering of mercy. So any food that is accepted should be accepted as prasadam. Anything, everything, whatever you eat on a daily basis, offer it to the Supreme Lord with a tulasi, nice tulasi, without onion, garlic, by using all the 4 don'ts, right? We saw. Follow all those, and nice food you can offer to the Lord. Some people think, Are, ivanni lekunda, especially my colleagues ask me, Are, nu em tintavra? How do you subsist? Recently we celebrated festivals, right? How many offerings we had? 370, 500, 1008. Kuwait lo నేను చెప్పేది. Sometimes you please come to our festivals. I will show you easily. My devotees 500 preparations. None of the 500 is repeating. Ala undestar without onion garlic. It's not a very difficult thing when you practice gradually. Cook nice food offered to the Lord in the mode of goodness, because mode of goodness is very conducive to pursue spiritual realization. And then offer it to the Lord. Put a tulasi, because the Lord always accepts something with tulasi. Tulasi is very dear to the Lord. Undaya tulasi divyaye priyaye keshavashecha Krishna bhakti praje devi satyavati namoni. Offer a tulasi leaf and then offer it to the Lord. And then what you get back is prasadam. Prasadam is not spiritual. Sorry, not material, it's spiritual. So when you nourish the body with spiritual food, then what is the nourishment that obtains, the body obtains? Spiritual nourishment. But when you take food that is not offered to the Lord, then the nourishment that is obtained for the body is material. So how will your thoughts be? How will your consciousness be? Material. Imagine a person, his entire lifetime he is eating only Krishna Prasadam and nothing else. Naturally, his consciousness changes. I myself, for the past 10 years, I've been practicing Krishna consciousness. and I've been accepting nothing other than Krishna Prasad. I can see naturally in the personal experience. The second I eat anything which is not offered to the Lord, that day my consciousness is disturbed. Immediately I can feel it. People who are pursuing spirituality for a long time, they also have similar realizations. So once you also start practicing this, inculcating this in your life, you will feel this. Correct.
What is this?
So which means you are asking, the scripture also recommend meat eating for some personalities, like you can offer meat to Durga and eat, correct? So there are categories of personalities like we saw who want to pursue satisfaction of the tongue. For them, this process is recommended. Why? Because somehow or the other, they have to get rid of their animalistic propensities of killing other living entities and then regulate themselves. Adiguda, they don't kill whenever they want. It is recommended that only on the Amavasya day, only specific lower living entities or animals which have very, very degraded consciousness, you can slaughter and you can offer to Durga Devi. And offering to Durga Devi, there is a mantra recited. In that, they say Mam Saha. Usually flesh ni మనం తెలుగులో ఏమంటాం మాంసం. మాంసహ అంటే ఏంటంటే you and I are equal in the eyes of God. Therefore, in front of Durga Devi, I promise that for my satisfaction, I am killing you. So in future lifetime, you can also kill me and eat. That is the meaning of the mantra. ఆ మంత్ర చదివి మీనింగ్ తెలిసిన తర్వాత ఎవరికన్నా ఎప్పుడో అప్పుడు జ్ఞానోదయం కలుగుతుంది. అరే ఇన్నిసార్లు ఇన్ని జీవుల్ని నేను స్లాటర్ చేశాను, which means I also have to be killed in the future. So better I stop, because I don't want to. When he see the ghastly situation, he will get realization. Maybe this is not a good idea. I should stop. So that regulation is this purpose. But today it is so unfortunate. The whole meat industry is industrialized. 800 million living entities are slaughtered every single day. 68% of the food produced on planet Earth is going only to feed the cattle. Imagine that percentage of food can eliminate hunger of 4.5 Earths. You can confirm all this, you can Google it. The food that is produced by Earth can feed 4.5 times the population that is currently existing. Only for our greed, we are creating all problems. There is enough for man's need. There is never enough for man's greed.
In Puranas also that is there, offering for Durga and Radha avatar.
Yes, it is there. It is there, but for whom? For personality. Like we saw, Sanatana Dharma is overarching. Right? So this overarching principle also, this comes under Karma Kanda. So the benefit that you are getting out of it is also material. So for such a personality who is having such a degraded consciousness, that is the recommended process. But for a person who has very high realizations, who's pursuing spiritual life, then naturally he thinks and he needs to abstain. Right? Yes or no? Teacher has more rules, more etiquette to follow than a student, because teacher is expected to know all these things and live on a higher platform.
Everybody realized that they would not be in Durga Puja.
Okay.
Sure.
Don't mix slaughter with something else.
You can. You can.
Without offering
You daily you have Krishna Prasad, sir. Daily you do puja and eat. And then before that you don't eat. Is that something that you should not eat before?
Accepting that.
Means doing puja.
That is the ideal. అంటే ప్రిన్సిపల్ అది, కానీ అలా చేయలేకపోయిన పరిస్థితులు కొన్ని ఉన్నాయి అనుకోండి. మీరు ఫ్లైట్ లో ట్రావెల్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఫ్లైట్ లో ఏం పూజ చేస్తారు మీరు? సో యూ విల్ జస్ట్ ప్రే టు ద లార్డ్ మెంటల్లీ ఇన్ దట్ పొజిషన్, బెగ్ ఫర్గివ్నెస్, అండ్ దెన్ యూ విల్ యాక్సెప్ట్ ప్రసాదం. That is the reciprocation you have with the Lord. Ideally, yes. Ideally, yes. Servant ఎప్పుడన్నా మాస్టర్ ముందు తింటాడా? So we are servants of the Lord. So we are expected to serve the Lord first and then accept prasadam. That is the idea. But ఏదో అలా చేయకపోతే పాపం జరిగేస్తుంది అంటే the reciprocation is not on papa punya anymore. When you are talking about bhakti, you are no longer bothered about నాకేదో హాని జరుగుతుందా అని. ఇప్పుడు మీ పిల్లలు ఉన్నారు, న్యాచురల్ గా మీరు వాళ్ళకి ప్రేమ పట్ల ఫస్ట్ వాళ్ళకి తినిపిస్తే తర్వాత మీకు ఉంటారు కదా. It's a reciprocation of love. It is not a reciprocation of etiquette or formality anymore. So when we talk about bhakti, it's so pure. You can't project your material conception of life onto bhakti because it's on such a pure platform of love. So the Lord is recommending the devotees. Why prasadam? This is the benefit. Bhagavad Gita, Yajna Shishtasana, a very famous sloka. Some persons recite this sloka as their prasadam mantra also. For accepting prasadam, they recite this sloka as their prayer. So the devotees of Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered for sacrifice. Yajna means Vishnu. Sacrifice means what? Not the sacrifice that you know. Sacrifice means sacrifice for the Lord, for the Lord's pleasure. Yajna. Yajna Shishtatsina. Yajna means always in connection with Vishnu. Yajna Purusha is Vishnu, which is offered first to sacrifice. Others who prepare food for the personal sense of enjoyment, verily it only sin. Sin why? Because they are satisfying the senses, and naturally that leads to karma. So again, if you ask me, should I offer and eat? That is up to you. Whether you are serious in spiritual life or not, that is your decision to make. If I want to pursue spiritual life, accept only prasadam. Sorry?
If we are not offering to God first and then giving, it's the same.
That is what the shloka says. Yes. I know it's very tough to digest. First, when I saw this, I had no idea what to do. I was really shattered. But there is hope. We can.
Everything we cook, we have to give or something. We have to.
Some devotees go to an extent that they even offer the water that they drink. Water కూడా వాళ్ళు ఆఫర్ చేసేది అవుతారు, లేకపోతే they don't drink. It depends on the level of reciprocation that you want to have with the Lord. Starting stages, we are all so conditioned that we are not able to jump directly to the higher principles. These principles, again, these are standards. For the sake of knowing the standard, I am giving you the highest standard. But for practicing, we can start gradually inculcating this in our lifestyle. 3 meals a day, 1 meal. Let's say you have enough time to cook and offer to the Lord. Offer prasadam to the Lord nicely, 1 meal a day. Then that 1 meal or that one part of the day, you will understand that what is the change in your consciousness. Then you will gradually increase it to 2 parts, 2 meals a day, then 3 meals a day. So step by step introduction is there. But the principle is always on the highest level because you can't dilute the principle. The detail of application is again according to time, place, and circumstance in our own lives. For that, you need a spiritual mentor. That's why we need that doctor to help us exactly distinguish what is right or wrong. We can't do this by ourselves. We need a doctor. We all need spiritual mentors. Not only spiritual mentors, we all need association of fellow companions also. Doing this alone is very tough. ఎంతమంది జిమ్ సబ్స్క్రిప్షన్స్ కట్టి మానేశారు? ఆ డబ్బులను లెక్కేస్తే ఈజీగా నేను కార్ కట్టేవాడిని. I could have bought a nice car by now. Why? Because we are planning to do it alone. But recently, my company we had a team event where all the company was divided into teams and we were supposed to walk 10,000 steps every day. As a team, we did together. We all went to Boulevard Park and we started walking. And then we all accomplished our goal very easily. So as a team, you can achieve all this very nicely. All of us, in fact, I must say, when we practice devotional life together, then it becomes very easy. What is the food that you should offer? Lord is also clarifying that in Bhagavad Gita. Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam. These 4 categories. Yome bhaktya prayachati, tad aham bhakti upahritam asnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, I will accept. Which means pure sattvic vegetarian food. So these conclude the ABCD and the typical curriculum of the journey of self-discovery. ABCD is the highest principle that you can apply in your lives. Immediately, A is for association. In the association of devotees, you can read books, you can start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and you can also start accepting Krishna Prasadam. And by performing deity worship, we can have Krishna as the center of our lives.
Prabhuji, I have a question. What should I do now except that I'm sick, approach the right hospital, approach the right doctor, what's after that?
Approach the right doctor, avoid negative things.
Except positive things.
Onion, garlic is an aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac are items which provocate your mind to unite with the opposite gender. So they create those kind of desires. So garlic is usually avoided for that. Plus point, I personally don't like garlic. If you put garlic in anything, it overpowers all the other flavors. ఎంత strong గా ఉంటుందంటే garlic, you can't taste any other taste. Everything like garlic karam, garlic chappa, garlic uppu, uppu flavor ఏ రాదు మీకు. ఆ వెజిటేబుల్ ఫ్లేవర్ ఉండదు. It overpowers all the other flavors. ఒక్కసారి మీరు గార్లిక్ లేకుండా వండి చూడండి. You will enjoy the taste of the vegetables. You will enjoy the taste of the pulses. Material pleasure kuda ఏదంటున్నాను literally. But for spiritual purposes, onion also is considered food in tamasic guna. So that is why foods in tamasic guna, if you accept, then your consciousness also goes down to tamam guna. Not necessarily. There are many personalities, even demigod worshippers, who don't accept onion. My grandparents, especially my grandmother, was for most of her life a demigod worshipper. But from childhood, we were inculcated that we should not eat onion. Only later on, when I studied Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, I got to know the reason behind it. So there are other personalities also who follow that. Yes, ma'am.
Offer to God only without onion and garlic?
Yes.
Our practice, whatever we put in the front of God, Prabhuji.
Sorry?
Whatever we cook with onions and garlic, we have a practice of it.
మనమే తినకూడదంటే దేవుడు ఎలా తీసుకుంటారు? And God is all pure, all perfect. So which means food which we eat also should be all perfect, cooked with the first class ingredients, with sattva guna items. Alternatives ఉన్నాయి. Alternatives చాలా ఉన్నాయి. మజ్జిగ రాగండి, చలవ చేయాలంటే ప్రాబ్లం ఏముంది? There are alternative options for everything. So on a daily basis, you can implement these principles. Again, it's very important to understand these principles in the association of devotees. Now these ABCD principles are in your hands. ABCD, which is ABCD, the distinguishing factor between humans and animals, and the ABCD, which are the spiritual practices, association, books, chanting, and diet. Once again, decide where you want to go in the yoga ladder, whether you want to utilize it or go the below floors, basement la illalani adi beach aitane. So to even, I understand that this course called Journey of Discovery was very, very high level, purposefully. Make a session is so long. So it's like I say, like our CISSP, inch deep and mile wide. అంటే లోతు ఇంతే ఉంది, కానీ సిలబస్ ఎంత ఉందన్నమాట. ఒక్కొక్క టాపిక్ గురించి, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చాంటింగ్ గురించి, కృష్ణ అండ్ విష్ణు తత్వాస్ గురించి, ఇంకా చాలా డీప్ స్టడీస్, కర్మ యోగా గురించి, జ్ఞాన యోగా గురించి, భక్తి యోగా గురించి. You can do a lot of deep study. So after this, what we'll be doing is we will be doing a deep study of all the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, chapter by chapter. We will cover all the verses, but not go sloka by sloka, we'll go chapter by chapter. All 18 chapters in 18 weeks. After that, we will look at specific devotional literatures like Upadeshamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So there are many such programs which we will be taking up. So I think I will be taking a week's gap. After that, I will be starting this Bhagavad Gita course. Now, open mana over thematic study chusam kada. There you will get to know all these detailed principles. So till we study that Bhagavad Gita, why don't all of you start practicing the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra? How do you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Very simple.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare.
Right? That is one chant. You have to chant 108 of these mantras on beats. That's how we practice.
Same one in 100.
108 साल जपन चेयाली. Same mantra. It takes 7 minutes. Hare Krishna Mahamantra జపం చేయడానికి 108 సార్లు 7 minutes పడుతుంది.
Krishna devotees have a bag with that japamala.
Correct.
If that's so they
Correct. The bag is only for cleanliness purpose and to manage. అంత పెద్ద మాల పట్టుకెళ్తూ ఉంటే ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఈజీ కదా. బ్యాగ్ లో ఉంటే ఈజీగా మేనేజ్ చేయొచ్చు. కరెక్ట్. Correct. Even I have such a bag. In fact, you all also can utilize it. So, Srila Prabhupada established the standard that whoever are his official disciples, they disciples అంటే శిష్యులు, వాళ్ళు 16 మాలలు జపం చేయాలి మినిమం. Again, minimum. Idea is you exceed that limit. That takes around 2 hours.
Same or you keep on doing or
Same mala. 16 మాలలు ఉంటాయా? Same mala. Mantra means manatrayate iti mantra. Krishna appeared, that one. Okay.
When he was known as Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam, again, this is a deep study. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, talks about this principle, about why, who is Krishna. In fact, the Saunakadi rishis unnaru Sara, they are asking Suta Goswami the same question. Who is Krishna and what are his multifarious incarnations? There is an entire chapter dedicated to that one. It's a very deep study. But the summary of that chapter is Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridyanti Yugeyu. In the sense that Etecha Amsa, there are many different categories of incarnations. Amsa, Pumsa, Kala, Avesha. There are so many categories of incarnations. So many categories. But the fountainhead of all these incarnations is Krishna. For example, you met me first. Probably eventually if you meet my mother later. Does that mean I appeared before my mother? No, right? My mother appeared on this planet first and then she gave birth to me. So similarly, all of us earthly living beings are meeting Krishna for the first time in Dwapar Yuga. But our Vishnu, who is Garbhodakashai Vishnu, is locally accessible. So he keeps incarnating again and again in various avatars. But Krishna, who is the fountainhead of all incarnations, comes only once in every day of Brahma, especially to this planet. So that is why we are seeing him only once in Dwapar Yuga. Krishna directly. So some people perceive that, oh, you appeared before your mother. Krishna appeared after Vishnu. But that is not a fact. The scriptures confirm that. Not only Bhagavatam, many scriptures confirm. Yes. Yes. Bhishma and Dhritarashtra are Jiva Tattva. They are ordinary living entities. Even now, there are living entities who have lifetimes which are 150 years, 200 years, 400 years. Okay, so I have a transcendental gift for all of you. That yesterday one devotee came from Vrindavan. So he brought some Krishna Balaram Prasadam. So I thought all of you, because you have been such sincere students of Bhagavad Gita, you all can be recipients of the mercy of Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, Shri Krishna Balaram from Vrindavan directly. So there is some Vrindavan Prasadam for all of you awaiting. And another thing that I would like to say that I am actually very inexperienced in life, immature in spiritual realization also, and I am a very beginner, but I am still a student of Bhagavad Gita also. It's just that on the instruction of senior devotees, I am doing this service just to serve Bhagavad Gita and serve all your devotees. I'm sure there have been many shortcomings, there have been many mistakes. If there is any transgression because of etiquette, or if I have spoken anything out of line, I would offer my prostrated obeisances to all the assembled devotees, seeking forgiveness. Me tamunno like me abbayano ksamistunattu, with magnanimous heart, please forgive me and pray for me that I also may imbibe whatever I have spoken. I'm just trying to repeat the words of the previous acharyas as it is. Like a parrot repeats the words, I'm just trying to do that business only as a speaker for my own purification. So please pray for me and pray for all of the assembled devotees here, so that we may all internalize these teachings and apply them in our daily lives. So for our own spiritual pursuits, we'll all take the shelter of the holy name. So let us chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all so much for being so patient with me for 6 continuous days. And I'm a very tough person to be patient with, but still you have tolerated somehow. So kudos to all of your personalities. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna. I hope it was beneficial.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
We also learned so many.
Hare Krishna.